Folks, do you realize that right now, either right now or within the next day or two, there's something big going on over in the Middle East? In a place called the Ur of the Chaldees, or the Chaldees, however you say that, where Abraham was born. There's a meeting over there of the religious leaders of the world led by the Pope himself. And does this have anything to do with prophecy? Is this something we ought to be paying attention to? Stay tuned. You're about to find out. Well, Brother Goodwin here, Prophecy in the Spotlight. Thanks for joining us today. And I got sitting here with me Dr. Hiltibidal. And Doc, this is a pretty interesting thing going on.
Very.
I want you to take a couple minutes and just share with the audience. March 5th through the 8th, whatever date folks are watching this show, I think it's now or within a day or two.
Sure.
March 5th through the 8th. Tell the viewers what's going on.
Well, the Pope and the folks that he has surrounded himself with as the leaders of the major religions of the world, they will be meeting for a prayer time and whatever other workshops at the Ur of the Chaldees. But not only at the Ur of the Chaldees where Abraham was born, at the Tower of Ur. The Tower of Ur.
So what is this Tower of Ur?
Well, the tower, you remember, Babel had a tower. All of those cities that Nimrod built in those days all had their own tower. This is their religious and political center, those towers. The Tower at Ur was discovered back in the early 1900s.
Do you have a picture of that?
Yes.
Are we going to put that up?
If Rex,
all right, Rex
I'll get it to Rex, and Rex can put it up.
So he'll put that up probably right now.
I've got a picture of the ruins when it was found, and in 1926 or 29, they rebuilt it, and today they're visiting it. This is all about returning to Shinar in religion.
So explain to the viewers what this means, because we talked about this in the preview. The bigness. Why is he having this prayer thing at that very spot?
Well, this is because this is the hometown of Abram. We know him as Abraham.
Right.
And this is supposedly where he was born and grew up. It's certainly where he was living whenever God called him in chapter 11, book of Genesis. So he's the father, Abraham is the father of Ishmael and Isaac.
Right.
So that's your Arabs and your Jews. So that's Abraham is the father of supposedly Islam, even though we know that's not true, and the father of Jews and Judaism, and the father of Christianity. So the three major religions of the world are all gathered together with a lot of different factions among each one of them, with the Pope under his leadership, back at Abraham's hometown.
So if you want to bring the religions of the world together, what better way to do it than to find a common denominator? And that common denominator is Abraham. He's
the father of all.
He's recognized by Bible believers, Christians, as Father Abraham.
Yep.
Same with the Jews.
Yep.
And, of course, Islam
Same with the Ishmaelites,
even
the
though
Arabs.
we know better, but
yeah.
And so,
but physically he is.
So why not have that meeting of these world religions
at Abraham's
hometown? At the very
hometown.
spot of his hometown.
His hometown. And why not do it at the religious center and the political center of his life, right at the tower itself?
Okay, so the question the viewers should be asking is, what does this have to do with prophecy?
It has a lot to do.
Let me read something here.
Yes, read that.
And and we talked about this in the preview that the folks on TV don't get to see. It's on YouTube. Let me just say this for those that watch television. If you have a computer and internet, you can see all of our programs on YouTube. All you got to do is go to YouTube and search for Prophecy in the Spotlight, and it'll come up. All of our shows are on there, but also the little previews that we do every week that you don't see on television. They're sometimes 10 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes, it just depends. They're all on YouTube. And so go to the YouTube channel and subscribe to it, and you'll always get to see the shows. You watch them anytime you want. You don't have to wait till 7 o'clock on Friday night or 11 o'clock on Tuesday night. You can watch them at your leisure, whenever you want. And if you're not sure how to find YouTube, go to our website, Prophecy in the Spotlight, and the YouTube channel is right there on the page. You can click on it, and so I think it'll be a big help to you. But in the preview, Doc, I shared this. I said I think a lot of people don't understand the beast of the end time.
Yes.
And I'm going to read Revelation 13 in just a second here, but let me read what I wrote here. What many do not realize is, yes, there's a global one world system coming. It's going to be headed up by a man we call the Antichrist, the man of sin. It's going to be ruled by one man. He's going to ride in on a white horse. It's going to be crowned. But there's another man involved here.
Yes.
We call him the false prophet. He's also called the beast in Revelation. There are two beasts.
Yes.
In fact, there's a trinity here, just like God has a trinity: Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Satan has a trinity. Yes. Satan represents God the Father. The Antichrist is represented by, the Son is represented by the Antichrist, Jesus. And the Holy Spirit is the false prophet. Yep. The false prophet is the religious leader of the day. So I think people don't fail to recognize this.
Right.
That if the Antichrist comes on the scene, that means there's another guy also on the scene.
That's right, both of them.
Right. Now let me read a couple verses here in Revelation 13, and then we'll discuss the story a little more here. Revelation 13 is, I call it the false trinity. That's what I call this chapter in my Revelation study guide. The false trinity. And you see the trinity here. You see the dragon, which is Satan. You see the Antichrist, which is the beast. But then you see another beast. One is from the sea and one is from the land. And I believe the sea is the Antichrist, and the one from the land is the false prophet. Verses 1 through 10, of course, talks about the four kingdoms of the world, the 10 horns and the leopard and the bear, and then the dreadful beast and all that. The four kingdoms of the world, which make
Daniel chapter 7.
Yeah, which make up this final empire of the tribulation period, the one world political system. And talks about they worship the beast in verse 4. They worship the dragon, They worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. So the beast gets his power from Satan, the dragon. We know Satan's a dragon because the Bible tells us that he's the dragon. And then you read on through, it talks about the 42 months and all that. But you get to verse 11, and it changes. It begins to talk about another beast. Right. Verse 11, I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had two horns as a lamb. I said it... I did get it right. The beast from the sea is the Antichrist.
You're
the beast from the earth, the land, is the false prophet. I started reading. I thought I had it backwards here. Another beast coming up out of the earth. So this is the second beast. This can be confusing to new Christians or new prophecy people. Right. You hear about the beast, you automatically think it's the Antichrist. Well, one of them is the Antichrist, but one of them's not. But what's important is to understand the purpose of this second guy here.
That's what it's about.
He says he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. It didn't say he was a dragon. He spake as a dragon. He spake as Satan would speak, because that's his boss, right? And I think he's part of the DNC. But anyway, that's for another day. Verse 13, and he exerciseth all the power of the first beast. So there's two beasts here. He has the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Now, we know the first beast is the Antichrist.
Yes.
He's going to get a wound, and he's going to appear to die. I don't personally think he does. I think it's all a show. But he's going to kind of be brought back.
He's got to mimic everything of Christ.
Yeah, because Christ died, came back, and so the Antichrist has to die, or at least appear to die, and there's got to be a resurrection here. So he has a deadly wound, and it was healed. And this second beast doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. That's talking about the second beast that does it. He calls fire down from
religious
heaven.
Man.
Yeah. So this second beast is none other than what we call the false prophet.
Yes.
and he's part of this trinity.
Heading up the religious system.
Yes. My point is this. If the one world system is almost here, the political system of the Antichrist,
Yes.
then the one world religious system also has to be here.
Yes, sir.
And it is.
It is.
And that's what's going on, what you just described over at the Ur of the Chaldeans.
Yep.
This meeting with the Pope.
That's what it's all about. You're watching the Great Reset, so that we've covered already. You're seeing the financial system of the world getting ready to be globalized. At the same time, you're seeing the political structure in our world is getting ready for globalization. And at the same time, you're watching this system of religion becoming. All it requires the Christian, true born-again people out of here and that religion for that.
And let's make sure people understand when television and the news and your average ecumenical religious person talks about Christians.
That's a broad term,
yeah. In fact,
not a Bible term.
We're really we're not considered part of that for the most part. We're the
no.
right-wing nuts that got to be,
Yeah.
there's something wrong with us. Christianity is a big circle, a big camp.
It's
tent.
it's supposedly 2 point some billion in the world
and it's
are
certainly
Christian.
Catholicism is a big
But
part of it.
that encompasses anybody who calls himself a Christian.
Yeah.
But if you analyzed it, Dan, I'm not sure the truly born-again Bible Christian, I doubt if we make 1% of the world.
Oh, yeah, I think you're probably right. Well, here's an article from February 22nd, just a few days ago. Yes. And here, I'm just going to read a little bit of this. This is about the story of the meeting with the Pope, the prayer thing they're going to have. This article is describing Baghdad in Iraq. Pope Francis is due to hold an inter-religious prayer service at the ancient Mesopotamian site of Ur when he visits Iraq next week. Now, I had to look through the article to find the dates. It's March 5th through the 8th, which is either now or it's the next couple of days, depending on when this airs on television. Right. He says it's an event local archaeologists hope will draw renewed attention to the place revered as the birthplace of Abraham. Popular with Western visitors in the 70s, and I won't read all that, but so this is getting ready to happen. Now, I have not found much for details as to what exactly they're going to do. I don't know if they're all going to give speeches, or are they going to pray, or are they going to say the rosaries? I don't know.
They're going to pray, but it goes all the way back to whenever the Pope began, this new Pope, in 13. Why, he began immediately bringing all these other religious people together, saying we all serve the same God, and we read from a different book, but it's all the and it's finally amalgamated into this. I mean, they're bringing them together back to their roots.
Well, this brings me back to a story that I broke several years ago, I think 2015. I went on Southwest Radio with Dr. Clarkson. I was not the host at that time. I was a guest. Mm-hmm. Of course, I hosted Prophecy News for 2 years, but before that, I would go on with my books, and they would interview me. I shared this with Dr. Clarkson probably 2015, and he had never heard the story. I went on Southwest Radio. In fact, I went to their studio. I did a in-studio interview with Larry Spargimino and Noah Hutchins and them. I'm trying to remember if Noah was still alive then. I can't remember. I think he was. But I shared this story with them. They hadn't heard this story. I couldn't believe it. This is a huge story. Now, this happened in September of 2014. Let me just read a couple highlights here. And I've shared some of this on here before. I talk about it every now and then. But in light of what's going on this week, this is the foundation of it right here. Of course, we all remember in 2013, Pope John Paul II resigned.
Just resigned.
And I think I shared some of that in a show just a couple weeks ago. I won't rehash all that. The lightning striking St. Peter's Basilica and all, just amazing. And so he resigns. On March the 13th of 2013, at 8:13 p.m. exactly, smoke comes out of the chimney at the Vatican there in Rome.
Yeah, got him a new pope.
And we got a new pope. And 3:13:13, 8:13 p.m. I mean, that's strange, right? But there's nothing strange with God. Everything has a purpose. So the new pope, that's the one we have now, Pope Francis, became the pope on that date, Well, just a few months later, maybe a year later, I guess. In fact, it was a year later. It would have been a year and a few months later. Shimon Peres, the famous leader of Israel, who just died, I think, 2016, somewhere in there, he requested a meeting with the new pope. Now, this is unheard of. This is a Jew meeting with Catholicism, meeting with the pope. Let me read just a couple paragraphs here. Shimon Peres, and I think I always call him Sharon. It's Shimon, Shimon. Famous leader in Israel.
Yes, he was.
Been the prime minister, been the president, been many things. He was there in 1967 when all that happened. Pretty important person in Israel. Says here, Shimon Peres, a patriarch of today's Israel, wants to leave a legacy. Most in this mode aim for things like monuments, memoirs, and money. Perez's aim is world peace. And in his opinion, Pope Francis, a man he calls Holy Father, now that's amazing in itself that he would make a statement like that, is the one to make it happen. In other words, he believed Pope Francis is the man to make world peace happen. Let's read out of the Bible. Let's read out of the one world order and the one man and the... Vatican spokesman concur, as does Italy's representative for Islam, who fully agrees. So the leader of Islam agrees with this. So, on September 4th, 2014, Sharon was granted an impressive 45-minute meeting. I guess that's what he could spare him. He gave him 45 minutes. He's granted this 45-minute meeting with the Pope, who Perez asserts is more powerful than the United Nations for advocating peace.
Amen.
This makes your hair stand up. This is strange. Why would that a man that Shimon Peres would make this statement? Now listen to this. This is something I caught on the way here in my car when my wife was driving. I was working on some of this coming here to do this. Here's something that I didn't highlight, and I guess I probably skipped over it every time I've done a show because I highlight stuff to read. I didn't highlight this. Well, it caught my attention in the car, and I said, holy cow, and I told my wife what it said. Listen to this. Now this is Mr. Peres, Shimon Peres. He says the problem, as I see it, in the past, most wars were motivated by the idea of nationality. In other words, nationalists, like Mr. Trump, a nationalist.
Got to be globalist.
Your country first, other countries second. What's wrong with that, by the way? We elect our representatives. Shouldn't they represent us first? He said, but he goes on and says, today, however, wars are being waged primarily in the name of religion.
Well, they always have been.
Yeah.
Yep.
In an exclusive interview, Perez divulged his plans. And here's what he said. Perhaps for the first time in history, the Holy Father is a leader not only respected by many people, but also by different religions and their leaders. In fact, Perez clarified, he is perhaps the only truly respected leader in the world today.
Yeah.
He said that in 2014, September 2014. The United Nations has had its day, he said.
Yeah.
What we need is an organization of united religions. We're not reading the Bible now, we're reading what Shimon Peres said. We need an organization of united religions, a United Nations of religions. This will be the best way, he continued, to fight terrorists who kill in the name of faith. There should be a charter of united religions just as there is a UN charter. This is what I have proposed to the Pope. This is what he proposed in September of 2014. Now, the article never really comes out and says what the Pope, whether he agreed with him or what he said. Of course,
well, it's pretty obvious. He's followed that format.
Yep. Yeah. He says this, Pope Francis is a globally respected leader. He is also the best choice because the world needs an indisputable moral authority. A moral authority.
And right along those same times is when he began bringing all of these religious leaders together and began formulating this.
Just a couple more little paragraphs. And if one of the Vatican's objectives was to test worldwide reaction to this proposal, response to date indicates only mild interest. Well, I think that's because nobody heard of this. Yeah. Most of the prophecy guys never even heard about it.
Yeah. Well, it's not mild today. It's on fever pitch.
Most who have reported on it treat it as just a human interest story.
Yeah.
Well, that's changing now, I think. If his proposal to the Pope gains traction, it will create a global religious union initiated by representatives. Now, I want to end with this. This is big right here. Initiated by representatives of the world's 3 monotheistic religions, a united religions organization that blends its expression from 1/3 Judaism, 1/3 Christianity, and 1/3 Islam. Yep. And listen to this, and apparently led from the 7 hills of Rome.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it?
Right there in the story. That's 7 hills.
Right out of the Bible.
Right out of the Bible.
Yeah.
So, amazing stuff here.
Of course, and, all that the Roman Catholicism is simply the mysteries of Babylon, back again out of the Shinar Valley. So it's making its way all right back where it started.
You know, in my book, The Mystery of the Jubilee, if you can see that there, The Mystery of the Jubilee, everyone ought to have this book on your shelf. I'm quoting from this book almost every show. On page 242, I think, I have a chapter called The Mystery of 3 Babylons. In here, I talk about most people think the Church of Rome is where the false prophet comes from. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that also. In the book, I give 7 or 8 reasons why we believe that Catholicism, the Roman Church, is in fact the church spoken of in Revelation 17, the mystery, Babylon the Great, mother of harlots, talks about.
Well, modern Catholicism is nothing but the mysteries of Babylon.
Yeah. And I'll just give a couple of these. And she's yoked in politics, it says here. And of course, Rome is, they got an embassy. I mean, they got, we've got representatives that go there. Yep. They've got ambassadors to here from the Vatican. It's a state.
It is.
We see the roots of Catholic beliefs way back in Genesis 10 and 11. You've talked about that with Nimrod and all that. Rome is known in chapter 17, verse 9, as the city of 7 hills. Mm-hmm. And we just read that in the article here. Revelation 17:4 speaks of the woman being clothed with purple and scarlet. Those are the colors of the robes and things. The woman sits on a beast, symbolic of religion and politics mixed together. Verse 3. We see that with Constantine, way back when it began with Constantine merging with the state. We see the grandest proof of all, possibly, the great whore, drunken with the blood of God's people, drunken with the blood of the saints, Revelation 17. Yep. What world religious entity has killed more Christians than any?
Absolutely. Yep.
And by the way, Pope John Paul II, who's still alive, who resigned, apologized for that. So it's not something they hide from.
Well, it's a historical fact.
Yeah. So take it from there, Doc.
We are coming full circle. They're building a place in Abu Dubai, in the UAE there at Dubai. They're building they call it the House of Abraham. And in the House of Abraham that they're building, it's a new synagogue and a new mosque and a new Christian church all on the compound together. And
this is in that Ur of the Chaldeans.
No, this is at UAE.
Okay, United Arab
Emirates. United Arab Emirates.
Okay.
And of course, Ur at Chaldee is about 700 miles straight north of it, in the southern end of what used to be the Shinar Valley.
You said 695 earlier.
Yeah, well, it's right at 700 miles.
Okay.
And it's amazing as the crow flies. And this is all taking place at the same time as you're having the Abrahamic Accords. And all of these sons of Ishmael, the Arabs, are signing on this. And what it is an accord with Abraham's sons, all about economy. It's all about economy. Everybody calls it a peace. It's not peace. It has to do with economy for both of them.
Trade and stuff.
Trade. Yep. So here you have sons of Abraham in their economic place. Now you've got the the descendants of Abraham and its religion, all of it at the same time that you're watching the globalism of the world take place. All three aspects of the end time Babylon, politically, religiously, and economically, they're all three formulating, rising right now.
Okay, now we can see who the religious guy is. That's without question.
I think it's
now, I'm
without
not saying
question.
he couldn't die tomorrow and someone
Right.
take his place, but
Sure.
that entity, that organization is going to
Yes.
put this up.
It's pretty. I mean, all it takes is the real Christian out of here at the rapture, and this thing can fall into place immediately.
And so we need now we need the political guy
Yeah.
that he's going to promote.
Well, this religious leader that you pointed out here, just last year, he brought Marcon of France. He brought him there, kissed him on the cheek, and anointed him to be the leader of the world to solve these world
And
problems.
you mentioned him in a maybe last week's program or recently, and I'm still on the fence. I still
Sure.
got Obama in my
Yeah.
mind, but who knows? Maybe Obama was just a type, and it could be because I've got an article about Macron. Pretty amazing, amazing stuff.
But Marcon, France, his way back in his lineage back there, the Phineas had offered the pig on the altar.
So he's in that lineage.
He's in that lineage. He's a direct lineage there. He's also done what it said concerning the Antichrist. He planted a cedar tree in Lebanon here a while back. Lebanon's begging him to take them over again, you know. And he, just last week or the week before, he inserted himself into the Middle East thing again because America is no longer a major player. It's obvious. And so he says, I'll step in and be the mediator between the Palestinians and Israel.
Right.
And
I read about that. Israel's kind of looking that way.
They're looking that way. They can't look this way anymore.
As of right now, our president still hasn't called.
Well, I think he called finally this week.
Did he finally call?
Finally called this week, yeah.
All right. Well, we got a half a minute or so. We got a minute left, dog.
Well, it's
How
pretty
does
obvious.
this all tie together here?
Ties together. What this event is, it is the rise of the one world religion for the tribulation days.
Yes.
We're seeing the rise of the political nature. It's a one world order almost on us. And we're certainly watching the Great Reset financially. We're watching the world. All three of these entities are coming to fruition right now. We are at the end of all things.
What would you tell the viewer listening that doesn't know where they're going when they die? How serious is this?
It's serious. You need to get saved. You need to realize how close we are for the church age to be closed. Your opportunity to receive Christ is now. You need to ask Christ into your heart, change your destiny from hell to heaven, and simply take God at His word. He said, whosoever will call on the name of the Lord shall be saved.
All right. And if you got any question about that, call us,
Yes.
email us, contact
Amen.
us. We'd love to help you maybe get some material in your hand.
Yes.
These are exciting days.
Amen.
Folks, keep your eyes on them skies.
Yes.